Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, No Water, No Production, Expert Roundtable on Water Management in Industry. My name is Vera Massey, and I'm from the Southern African German Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I am your host for today, and I would like to first apologize about my camera situation. I have an issue with my computer camera, but also now with the boardroom at the office. So unfortunately,
we see you now.
What? You can see me?
We can see you.
Yes.
Yes.
Somewhere far. I assume it's you in the back there.
Yes, it's me. Excellent. Well, something's working then. Fantastic. Okay, great. So you can see me. Fantastic. So I can see that people are starting to join. I think we've got 87 people in the room so far, but I think within the next couple of minutes, there'll be some more. But while everyone is dialing in, perhaps I'll just quickly cover some of the house rules before we begin. We are recording the session. And if you're staying, that means that you agree to being recorded. We also want to publish, we will publish the recording on our website. And you will receive the link to the recording after the event as well. And your cameras and microphones are muted. And please use the Q&A function for questions. We are very many attendees. We have had a lot of registrations, and I think we're already sitting on 106 people. So that's the reason why your mics are muted. I think otherwise it would get maybe a little bit wild. So we'll have a Q&A session after every segment. We'll try and address your questions that you put into the chat or into the Q&A. And yes, so this webinar is the second in a series of 4 events that will be leading up to the IFAD Africa happening next year in July to take place in Johannesburg. This webinar series is brought to you by the Bavarian Ministry of Economic Affairs, Regional Development and Energy, and the Bavarian Representative Office in South Africa, which Alexa will be saying a couple of words in a moment. It's the German Chamber, in cooperation with the Bavarian State Ministry of the Environment and Consumer Protection and the Water Technology Transfer Network. Sorry, mouthful. We would like to thank all the panelists for making the time to engage with our audience and our stakeholders, which are plentiful. And to our listeners, we hope that you find this event informative, and we look forward to our continued engagement with you all. Without further ado, we shall begin with the official welcome by Mr. Georg Schmidt, Senior Ministerial Advisor of Bavaria's Ministry of Economic Affairs. Please take the stage.
Well, thank you, Vera. Very warm welcome from my side. Our ministry, as Vera pointed out, has devised a seminar series, this webinar series on water and wastewater, together with the German Chamber. So why us and the German Chamber? It's because the Monopol, the Chamber's CEO, wears 2 hats. She's at the same time the representative of the Free State of Bavaria. Now, some of you may be familiar with Bayern Munich, Bavaria's world-class soccer team, which, by the way, beat PSG yesterday, 1-0. But maybe you may be less familiar with the Free State of Bavaria, but there's more to it. The German system, as you may or may not know, is comparable to the US system. It comprises 16 rather independent states and under our national government. And Bavaria is Germany's largest state. It's as big as Ireland. And if we were independent, we would have the 6th largest economy in the EU. Our companies are fairly well known. They range from large players like Siemens, BMW, Audi, and Krones, to service providers like Allianz or Munich Re. But we also boast a number of hidden champions, which are world leaders in their respective fields. Now, our companies and research institutes are particularly strong in environmental technologies, and we are convinced that this field, and especially the field of water and wastewater, is well suited for economic cooperation. And perhaps I should say that we're not starting from scratch. There's a number of Bavarian companies already active in your country, in South Africa, and there's close cooperation between our universities and research institutes. And we look back on a fairly long history of expert exchanges. Only last week, a South African expert delegation visited Bavarian water infrastructure and held talks with Bavarian water experts. So with this webinar, we'd like to add more momentum, and we'd like to take it further. Next July, our Vice Minister will visit your country with the Bavarian water delegation in the margins of IFAT, or IFAT, we say IFAT, which is, as you may or may not know, the world's leading environmental technology fair. Its home base is Munich, our Bavarian capital. So we are very much looking forward to it. Prospects are great as far as we are concerned. We have a concrete plan, a medium-term plan. But as for now, I wish us a great session. And without much ado, I'd like to hand the floor back to Vera.
Thank you so much, Georg, for that introduction. I would like to now hand over to our interim Deputy CEO of the Southern African German Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Alexa Gerard. You can say your introduction and welcome words, please.
Thanks, Vera. Yes, thank you. As mentioned, Simone Pohl, our CEO, is the official representative of the Bavarian state today, or generally, and she's not available today, which is why I'm stepping in. And it is my absolute great pleasure to welcome you all online to this online information session, No Water, No Production, an expert roundtable on water management in industry. At the German Chamber, we wear three hats. The first one is that we are the official representation of the German economy in Southern Africa. We are also a membership organization, and we function, the third hat is that we function as a service provider for companies and initiatives funded by the various German ministries. We are one of the German chambers present in 150 locations around the world, and we are responsible for almost the entire SADC region. I wouldn't say the entire SADC region, it's all except for Angola and Tanzania. Our activities generally revolve around the various competence centers that we have. For example, Vera Massi, who is moderating the event today, is the water portfolio manager of the Competence Center for Climate and Environment. And then other competence centers include renewable energy, mining, agriculture, training, and industry as well. To the topic, many of us in Johannesburg have been experiencing water cuts during the scheduled infrastructure maintenance or due to unexpected damages. I myself didn't have water for 2 days this week, so it's really a topic we need to address. Such water cuts impact our personal lives, as I just mentioned, but it also impacts businesses, especially those who rely on municipal water supplies to provide an hygienic environment for their employees, for product integration, as well as simply for cleaning their facilities. In today's event, we hope to outline the current framework conditions for industries to adopt measures for water and wastewater management and to become more resilient to water cuts in the future. Bavarian companies will present their solutions today, and South African companies will demonstrate that collaboration between German and local companies can lead to measurable positive impacts in the industry and the environment alike. Thank you, and that's all from me.
Thank you so much, Alexa, for that. And before we begin with the panel discussion, I would like to maybe get us a picture of the perception of the audience, or by the audience, to the topic of today's webinar. I'm going to share my screen and start a polling for you. And the first question that I would like to ask, perhaps I should say quickly, we are using the application Slido, and you should, now that I've started the poll, you should receive a card that says vote in Slido in your chat. If you click on that, you can start putting your word in. And the first question that I have for you is, what word best describes what it means for your business or organization not to have water? I hope this works. Please put in your words now, and I'll let it running for a little while. So you can hopefully see the results coming in on the screen. I think no work is getting a disaster. Yeah. Interesting. Coming in, no water, no life, no production. I think no work seems to be chosen by many people. Impossible is another, I think, quite impressive, quite important word to see, that it's actually not possible to go without water. And I think that's very true. Yeah, I think I can see there's about 30 votes. Let's give it another 30 seconds. And then I think I will close it. But I think no work is the biggest word currently. Yeah, I think for some, maybe working from home is possible. But for many industries, that would just not be not be an option, I guess. Someone sees opportunity in it. It says new projects. So that's also interesting. Where there's disaster, there's opportunity. So I think that's an interesting thought as well. I think more than one person would have said that by the size of the word. So yeah, I think I'm going to stop it here and leave you with that impression. And we move on to the next one. And that will be, is Gauteng likely to experience day zero in the near future? Yes, absolutely, maybe unlikely. I don't have enough information. So please choose your answer here. Yeah, pretty equal almost. Maybe is, I think, so that maybe indicates also that people are feeling a little bit unsure about the situation that is happening in Gauteng currently. And I know I'm picking out Gauteng, but it is currently most prominent in the media. But I think we are having similar problems in other provinces as well. I think I see people are also typing into the chat, and that's also absolutely fine, not to worry about that. Oh, did it crash now? Great. I think it looks like it has crashed. Yeah, that is a pity. I'm not sure what's going on. Let's see. So I think I don't have enough information. Seems to also be quite important, but I think maybe seems to be the most important. I think I'm going to stop this now. I don't think it will carry on any further. So our next speaker is Carl, and I think he will go into that topic a little bit. But before we start, I'd like to just introduce all our panel speakers for the next segment of the event. I'm going to start with Dr. Manuel Kraus. He is the head of international cooperation at the Research Institute for Water Management and Climate at the University of Aachen in Germany. But today he's mainly representing the German Water Partnership in his capacity as the head of the regional section Africa. The German Water Partnership is an association for German water companies with an interest abroad. The second speaker is Mr. Carsten Ozol, founder and managing director of the South African company Memcon. For now nearly 20 years, Memcon supplies membrane process plants into South Africa and abroad. And thirdly, Mr. Carl Haycock is the CEO of the South African company Talbot. Talbot offers expertise in the provision of sustainable water and wastewater solutions across Africa, and he himself has 25 years experience in industrial, environmental, and water-related risk strategy and advice. So now that we have all these impressive people lined up, I think we can begin. We're going to start with Carl. In South Africa, we've been experiencing increasingly intensifying water shortages in all provinces over the last 5 years. There are different challenges in South Africa. It's one, the climate when we go through a drought, but also we have problems in our infrastructure being damaged either through vandalism or through floods or other means. Sometimes it also just breaks down because it is old and is unmaintained. we have high water losses in our distribution systems, and we are really experiencing terrible water cuts at the moment. In July this year, we hosted another online event with the title, Looking Ahead, Water Supply for Businesses in Johannesburg. You can also access this webinar on our website if you would like to watch it. At this event, both Johannesburg Water and Rand Water were critical speakers, and they assured us that there will be no day zero in Gauteng. But since then, there have been many news articles to continue to speak about a possible day zero in Gauteng. So, Carl, my question to you is, what is in your view, is this a reality or is this more of a media hype? We would appreciate your input. Thank you.
Thanks, Vera. So maybe I'll be a little bit controversial, but first to say that giving me only 3 minutes to answer this question is a little bit stingy. So I think it's very, very important to differentiate the day zero that we saw in Cape Town from what's been spoken about in Johannesburg with regard to day zero. So one is related to water scarcity, and the other is related primarily to infrastructure maintenance or lack of maintenance and associated failures, so non-revenue water. I think that talking about day zero in Gauteng helps to sensationalize the issue, but I don't necessarily think it helps to solve the issue, because the fact of the matter is that the Vaal River system, which supplies Gauteng, is supplied by three different mechanisms, so to speak. Obviously, you've got the Vaal catchment itself. You've got the Tugela Vaal system, which pumps water over the Drakensberg into Steekfontein Dam and then via rivers to the Vaal River. And then you've also got the Katsi system. And I know there's a lot of talk at the moment around the levels in the Vaal River, the Vaal Dam at about 29%. The Vaal Dam itself is about 2.5 million cubic meters of storage. Steekfontein Dam, on the other hand, which feeds into the Vaal Dam, is 2.6 million cubic meters of storage and is about 98% full. So in the context of us running out of water in Gauteng, in that sense, I don't think that is a rational position or argument to take. Will we be without water in Gauteng in different parts at different times? Most certainly, and a number of our clients have already seen that and been impacted by that, where they have had to stop production, or if they haven't had their own mitigation in place, would have had to stop production. So is business at risk in Gauteng of being without water? Yes. Is this due to a day zero type scenario? No, it's due to localized infrastructure failures and due to, I suppose, what they're calling the water shedding. And I think politicians now are starting to talk about infrastructure or the lack of infrastructure resilience, and that's where the heart of the issue sits. So our infrastructure is stretched beyond its means. The population and the demand in the area in Gauteng exceeds the ability to abstract and supply enough water to meet the non-revenue water loss plus the demand. So if the non-revenue water loss wasn't there, then I don't think there would be an issue at all at the moment. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think that's a very balanced question. So I don't think you're being that controversial. I think it makes a lot of sense. If we imagine that a whole province, Gauteng has a day zero, it's quite a scary thought. So I'm sure, this is kind of what we're experiencing already, that there's water cuts in different areas at different times, that it is localized infrastructure failure. Thank you very much, Carl. I appreciate your input. I think we can maybe move to the next question, which now relates more to how industry is responding, I suppose. So, and also maybe looking at the impacts of not having water. At the beginning of the 2000s, experts predicted that we would find ourselves in a severe energy crisis if we did not start maintaining our infrastructure and expand our infrastructure. And 2 decades later, we are facing the economic consequences of years of load shedding. Now, there are some astronomical numbers which are being cited in the media with regards to the estimated losses to our economy, ranging from 35 billion rand between 2007 and 2019, all the way up to 560 billion just in 2022. An article that was published by the News 24 on the 8th of October suggests that should Gauteng run out of water, which we have just learned is probably unlikely on a very large scale, but it will still cost the economy a lot of money. And this article suggests that if we did run out of water, it would be 3 billion rand per day. So that's quite a significant number. So my next question goes to Carsten from MEMCON. Please, can you give us an insight into what it means for South African industry to run out of water? We already got a little bit of a taste from the word cloud where we saw there's just no production and it's not negotiable and there's no work. But at what point are your clients ready to engage with MEMCON to discuss potential solutions to their water and wastewater problems?
Yeah, thanks, Vera. Thanks for passing the ball to me now. And I think the clients are always ready to engage. South Africa is a great country. Me as a German always loved exactly that level of engagement. Everyone is very welcome and friendly and welcoming. And while Carl nicely pointed out, let's say, the cause of the madness, we now talk about the symptoms. And the symptoms are indeed what you say about running out of water for various reasons. And as we heard, it's not necessarily there is no water, it's just not there where it should be. So we lose a lot of water. But the point is that the companies slowly getting an awareness. This matter of deficiency of supply and demand is old. I mean, I came to the country 2004 and already then there was talk about it. So it didn't come overnight. And I think now we face reality and face the music. Companies are, and I want to say, rather tired already of the load shedding situation. The electricity was not so much an issue anymore, but obviously we had years of load shedding and drama in the industry. Now comes water, and water shedding is the next buzzword that flies around. Companies are extremely nervous, anxious, but also with poor concepts. But maybe that's a word in the cloud that was missing earlier, is initiative. So there's more initiative and also awareness and interest in looking into the matter. So we deal with the private companies left, right, and center in Southern Africa and abroad. And there are lots of good signs in terms of engagement, as you asked. What it means to the companies, of course, dreadful. We see lots of companies, and Carl also mentioned it, that reduces production, specifically in the food industry. They take a massive knock. But it's the sustainability and quick fix. Companies install tanks. We see lots and lots of SBS tanks going up, which is great, and it helps to some extent, but it's not a long-term solution. So the long-term solution, sustainability, is exactly what makes companies stress and plan, but also it's a strategic decision, different to solar power installations. So companies strategically seem to accept almost defeat to a level that productions might be relocated or consolidated in areas with more water. We've seen companies from various provinces literally closing down and moving where there's less trouble with water, which has a massive socio-economic impact. Our macroeconomic situation suffers from that. I can't give you figures, but we see lots of knock-on effects, obviously. The water prices is also an aspect to maybe navigate this matter. The water prices is almost like irrelevant in light of not having any water, so it can't be expensive enough. Still, it's availability, and companies truck water from various sources to survive. And this trucking of water, when you ask them, so what is the quality of it? Oh, we don't know. We're glad to have water. So that's another next concern. So it's always this quick fix in plan B scenario that poses a lot of more trouble and challenges, and as a hazard also to us as consumers in this country. There's a massive drive for borehole water treatment, or not just treatment, drilling for boreholes. There is borehole, but not necessarily of the right quality. So there's lots of poor advice, lack of direction, and I think us as private, as companies in the engineering field are really play a more and more important role, and we want to see us more as partners than suppliers. in order to guide a client. And it starts with assessment on site of how much water is being used, what is the need for, what is quality water you actually need on site. So there's lots of opportunities and initiatives now, as mentioned before. Another huge drive is opposite, that companies want to reduce water footprint. If, let's say, if a private public companies, for instance, they promise their shareholders less 20% water usage, soft drink bottlers win contracts at the promise of reducing the water footprint. There's lots of pressure over and above the availability of water to familiarize themselves with where and how they can save water and reduce the water footprint. So I hope that answers the question to some extent.
Yeah, thank you very much. Really interesting also that you know what you are observing, that there are serious economic impacts if a plant has to close down. It's a huge problem, also socioeconomic knock-on effects. And I think a lot of companies, interestingly, 3 years ago, I was doing a project where I needed industry to sign up for a project that was dealing, helping them to become more sustainable in their resource use. And when I was contacting companies, many told me, you know what, water is not an issue for us right now. It's electricity. We are trying to keep our doors open from day to day because we don't have power. I think that picture might look quite different if I did the same phone calls now and tried to convince industry to participate in a project that looks at sustainability, especially when it comes to water. I think the awareness has changed, like Carsten says, but maybe there needs to be more direction and more structure in this. And I think that leads us straight to the next question. So I think Carl, sorry. The next question goes to you in that, once the company has understood that something needs to be done, what are the measures that a company can take? What are the low-hanging fruits? What are the more complicated solutions? Where should the company go?
Thanks, Vera. So I think just very quickly, to answer that question, I suppose one needs to understand where and how water risk manifests within an organization, and Carsten's already touched on that to a degree. But essentially, we see obviously water manifests through water scarcity, which in my mind is a long-term issue, such as a drought-related issue or too much demand in an area, a supply disruption or quality-related issues. And I think Carsten just touched on that. Within organizations, it can affect an organization or business both upstream, so supply chain, in production and in product, okay, as well as human resources. I think somebody mentioned human resources, Alexa mentioned human resources earlier, as well as downstream users. So one has to understand that and understand where, water risk manifests, how it manifests. So also manifests from a financial point of view, through cost escalation. We've seen water price escalation in the range of 15% year on year as an average across South Africa for the last 5 years at least. Additional treatment, additional chemical usage in your production losses because of poor quality water, etc., or no water, therefore no production. So how one really, and then on the flip side, the non-financial is the reputational aspects, and how a lack of water may influence your customers, your shareholders, your stakeholders, etc., as an organization. Now, to get a grip of all of this, one actually needs to go through the process of doing a risk assessment for your organization, for your business, whether it's business as a whole or specific sites. And it should also be something that's been considered in audit and risk committees of any organization of any size, I think. In order to understand your water use data and imperatives, Carsten mentioned monitoring water and having some data. A lot of companies actually don't have the level of data that they need in order to actually understand exactly what their water risk is. And that's an imperative. So understanding water use in your process and throughout your process, understanding upstream suppliers and their water use. But water then becomes very context dependent, so catchment dependent. And understanding the context of the catchment is critical. to mitigating risk. So availability of water, is that an issue from a climate perspective, from a, or from an infrastructure perspective or demand perspective? Is the supply system, at risk, jeopardy, etc.? Is even treatment, because it's not just upstream where water impacts a business, it can be discharged. So we've had many customers discharge into a municipal facility, but with the lack of operation, that discharges directly to environment, and they're actually taking that on and treating the water on site themselves before discharging. So those are the types of things that, areas where water risk manifests in daylights, for want of a better word, groundwater term there, I suppose. In business, I think use some kind of water risk tool to go through a risk screening as an organization, and then identify your priorities and your quick wins. And, one of the comments in the chat group here is, yes, industrial water should ideally stay on site and be reused or recovered 100%, both inter and intra process and at end of pipe. So you have multiple processes in many industrial facilities, and there's opportunities galore in industry to look at water reduction. So reducing your water use, so your abstraction from the system, reduces your risk. Okay, obviously there are the things like storage, so storing X number of days. If you think that you're exposed to 1 day's worth of supply disruption, have 2 days worth of storage. However, water is not the same as electricity. You can't just create water from nowhere. Electricity is actually, and I think everyone on the call here is in the water space, so you probably all agree that water is a lot more complex than electricity and a lot more difficult to solve than electricity. Therefore, in my mind, it needs a lot more focus than the electricity crisis did in South Africa at this stage. So yes, just to summarize, I suppose, mitigation can be as simple as a storage tank, which will cost less than R1 million. It could be as complex as a water recovery plant, which could cost more than R100 million. However, both of those might have similar ROIs for that particular business because of lost production and the fact that you have mitigated your risk. So I think it very much depends on the situation, but there are a lot of opportunities for risk mitigation. My closing comment is, once you've done that, implement it and update your model and your risk assessment on a regular basis. So we often see that feasibility studies are done, nothing is done by industry. And down the line, you look back and they say they could have saved a lot of money, they could have maintained production, etc., if they'd done something 2 or 3 years ago. So I think that's a key message.
Thank you very much, Carl. I think it's really important what you've just said about that it's not just the price of water, it's not just how much wastewater discharge fees someone is paying, it's the lost production, it's money lost, it's jobs lost. So I think the ROI becomes a reality pretty quickly, that your return on investment will come around pretty quickly, I think, if you take that into consideration. And like Carsten said, I think industry needs to start thinking more strategically about this, also within the light of what Carl just said. I'm just sort of reading the comments and scanning for questions. I haven't seen a question to our panelists, but I think there was kind of quite an interesting comment by Willie Duplessis saying, if water recycling and recovery is not driven by government in order to create water security, there's a real risk of the private sector doing the same as with electricity, which is essentially what's happening, right? So people are reducing on-site, reducing their demand, and that could then have an impact on government losing its necessary revenue. So that is something that is, I think, already happening, and that will probably, by necessity, will become more and more important, that companies will become more independent just to keep producing.
And can I maybe add something quickly though on this comment? Maybe one aspect, Vera, what we also came across is the whole supply chain, that it's over and above the operational and figures and the losses of income from not having a production. There's another challenge to the clients that we see, that their clients want to see backup plans and contingency plans. So what if there's no electricity? We have generators and solar panels, happiness. So then they're being asked, what if you don't have water? So this whole contingency is a massive, massive pressure, almost like a stay in business decision to be made, because the market and the client's client basically demands that.
Very good point as well. Absolutely. The pressures are coming more and more also from the outside, also regarding financing solutions and etc. Very nice. Thank you so much. I think I'm going to move over to Germany now, because this is an expert roundtable from both sides. South Africa, we've seen plenty of expertise from South Africa. I'd like to start taking a look over to Germany now. Manuel, you are the regional section, you are the head of the regional section Africa at the German Water Partnership. Please, can you briefly introduce for the audience what the German Water Partnership is and what its role is before we ask you a more context-specific question?
Yes, thank you, Vera, and thanks for inviting me today here. Yeah, the German Water Partnership, we are a network of around 350 to 400 members. There are different companies from the water sector, but also research institutes, water operators, and consultancies. And they are from different branches of the water sector, for example, water supply, industrial wastewater reuse, monitoring, leakage control, and asset management or digitalization products. And we are all over Germany present, also companies from Bavaria inside, like the big companies, big players like Siemens or Huber, you may all know as well, with the big screens and so on. And we are bringing the water sector in Germany together because it's very much dominated also by small and medium-sized enterprises. And to make it more visible for the markets abroad, we are organizing then events together. For example, on our next IFAD in Johannesburg, there will be also a booth by German Water Partnership, and where different members of from Germany will be present.
Super, thank you so much. I think a key message there is German water companies, the majority of them are small and medium-sized businesses. I think it's quite an important statement to make, to sort of characterize the market as well over there. Right, so what kind of support can German companies offer towards industrial water security in South Africa behind the backdrop of what we've just spoken about? How keen are your member companies to get involved in our region, and what are their strengths?
Yeah, I think Carl and Carsten really nicely pointed out the main issues of what is required from a technical level, from a planning level, and so on. And in Germany, we are not that much coming from a scarcity point of view, but our wastewater tariffs and drinking water tariffs are quite high. So the industry had to move to water saving practices already several years ago, or they left already Germany to other countries. For example, the textile industry almost totally left Germany because it's a water intensive sector, and also to treat the water can be quite costly. So what German companies can offer, it's a different point of view. It's on the one hand delivering treatment technologies, but also treatment systems, and also experience with developing industrial water treatment and water reuse systems. In order to do that, it's always important to work together with local partners, and the German companies are also eager to work with local partners because they deliver machines and services and so on. And especially for industrial water supplies, it's essential to work that the wastewater engineers work together with the production engineers on site in order to do production and product efficient water management. Then it will deliver also the opportunity to save water, but also energy costs and maybe also chemicals in certain processes. And this can only be developed, jointly together. And I think this is key, and the German water sector can offer equipment from leakage control to digitalization tools like asset management, and also the experience of planning, having the right data, having the right technologies to which quality water needs to be produced, treated, in order to have also a cost-efficient solution in the end. For example, in my normal job also in the FIW, we are starting also a project right now in Buffalo City in East London, where we make a pilot study with German and South African institutes of reusing municipal wastewater for industries, for the automotive sector especially. And one is the technical point of view, to find the right technologies, to find the right water qualities which are needed to be there. But on the other side, also the business case needs to be right. And also the cooperation between the municipalities and the industries need to be, get on a new and cooperative level.
Thank you. Thank you also for referring to the research project going on, I think in the Eastern Cape. I think it's also really important, the collaboration and between the municipality and industries. I think that's another aspect that is quite important, I think, going forward and securing water for industry. Thank you also for showing off some of the German capabilities that we have, and that, the collaboration is the key. I really like that, and that's what I do as well. So I like that anyway. And thank you. I think it's a great bridge over to our next segment. I have not seen any questions. I encourage everybody to keep track of the comments. There's some really interesting comments coming in, and they're contributing and enriching the discussion that we are having. But for now, I think we're not going to have a Q&A because there are no questions. So I think we can move over to our next segment. One of our objectives of this webinar is to showcase Bavarian companies to the South African audience. And you may have heard some of the Bavarian companies, and Manuel, you also mentioned some names earlier already, that are well established in the South African market, and some of them include Bellner, Huber, Flotweg, Netsch, and some others. Those are all Bavarian companies that are active here. But today we are looking at companies that are maybe a little bit smaller, because those are quite big companies. So we're looking at small and medium-sized Bavarian companies today. And they will each get a 5-minute pitch to showcase their solutions and what their companies can offer. And then if there are any questions, we can also address them after we are done with all 3 presentations. I think without further ado, we'll start with Eric Mukola he's the sales director at Wolfwasser, but he is today representing PPU Umwelttechnik. And they are another great example of how Bavarian companies work together with South African companies to provide solutions to industry as well as the public sector. But today the focus is industry. So go ahead, Eric, you can share your screen or introduce yourself as well and share your screen.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Vera, and thank you for the audience as well. Let me share my screen. Vera, can you see my screen?
Yes, it's coming. Yes, thank you.
Okay. And now I'll assume you can also see the presentation, correct?
Yes, you can.
Okay, fantastic. So PPU Umwelttechnik, we do wastewater treatment solutions, And the systems are then marketed under the brand name ClearFox. As you can see, the company started about 15 years ago in Germany, Beirut. And they've got three locations where the products are manufactured throughout Germany. And the core focus of the business is industrial wastewater from 1 cube to 200 cubes an hour, as well as municipal or typical sewage for 5 persons to 10,000 persons project range. And this is usually for your residential estates as well as smaller municipalities. And PPU has an extensive range, experience within the industrial sectors, and I'll be taking us through some of the industries that PPU has experience on. The products that we offer are DAF, or dissolved air flotation systems. We also do biological technologies such as SBRs and FBBRs. We do clarifiers. We do oxidation as well as filtration, as well as sludge dewatering. But
Eric,
also,
sorry to interrupt you. Sorry, very, very sorry to interrupt you, but the slides don't seem to be changing.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, maybe the connection is a bit, should I try and share it from my side?
Give me 1 second. I wanted to see if, because I shared a window, could be the reason.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, could be the reason. This should be better now. Thank you for that, Vera. Can you see my screen again?
Yes.
Is it changing?
Desktop now, I think. Yes, we can see it.
And is it changing now?
Okay, let's see. Not quite yet.
Huh.
That is odd.
Okay, please proceed and share on your end. Thank you, Vera.
Oh, okay, let me try that quickly.
Okay, thank you.
1 second. Okay. Let's hope that it works.
It should work.
You just need to put it into full screen. See. Okay, maybe just begin, and I will find the.
Okay.
I will find where were you roughly.
I think we can start right there. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So
Fantastic.
about PPU or ClearFox, the company started 15 years ago, so back in 2007, with manufacturing facilities across 3 cities in Europe or in Germany. And then we do wastewater treatment systems for 1 cube an hour all the way to 200 cubes an hour. And then the product range, within the product range as well, we've got solutions for sewage treatment or typical municipal wastewater treatment. This is for domestic systems. So you're talking about 5% in a home all the way to 10,000 people. So this works ideally in your residential estates or smaller municipality applications. So we've got solutions for that. And we've got really extensive experience, mainly in the agro-processing and beverage sector. But I would like to also point out that we also do other industries as well. Wish my presentation could have worked because it's got other industries, but that's okay, be that as it may. Please, if we can go on to the next slide, Vera, thank you. Okay, this is a typical setup of one of the containerized systems where oil drilling facility in the Middle East. So this, again, you can see how sort of rapid deployment, but also this can be scaled up in sort of, stages, depending on the site conditions and site requirements. Vera, next slide, please. Okay, typical products that we do, your DAF, biological treatment solutions such as FBBR and SBRs, and these are also available as containerized solutions in cases where you don't have space. We also do clarifiers, oxidation solutions, filtration, as well as sludge dewatering. One of our, well, my personal favorite industries is obviously agro-processing sector because of how busy we really have been in that space. But it's quite important to note the various industries without the agro space, you know, meat such as your abattoirs and that, dairies, fruit and veg. We also do breweries, wineries, and fish processing sites. But also to add to that, we do we also do your oil and gas industries. We've got reference sites in that particular field as well. Vera, if you can go to the next slide. And then we also do pharmaceuticals as well in Europe. There's various sites that are available, you know, traceable references out there. This is a typical dairy facility, 50 cubes an hour, milk, cream, and butter producer in the UK. And what I like to point out, particularly on this, will be if you look at the typical inlet COD and the effluent COD at the end of the process. And I mean, we'll obviously sort of incorporate different process technologies, so such as your screening, DAF, and FBPR. Our design will always look at what is existing on site, as well as what we need to achieve as well, as far as the final effluent requirements are. And the reason why this is important is also to note that when you're talking about treating to reuse on site, that is also a possibility. We can help the client to do that, provided that there's space and budget to do that as well. So you can treat any type of wastewater to meet any final effluent quality. So we can help with that as well. Please, if we can go to the next slide. This is a typical setup as well. Due to space, the containers had to be stacked on top of each other. And this is for a plastic recycling company. And you've got an entire, so if you can see sort of a bluish pipe dropping on the left of the container, that is where now you screen, and that will be dropping the screenings into a tank. Normally you'll have either a skip bin or a drum, depending again on space and site conditions. And then from there you'll have, for example, a containerized solution for that application. If we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, slaughterhouse in Serbia, 15 cube an hour. And I think the importance that we'd also like to show here is just to show the various sizes that we can do, you know, from that 1 cube really is practical, it can be done. In this particular case, what I like about it was that the SBR technology was then incorporated into the existing concrete tanks on site. So we do that site survey, sort of look at the site conditions, you know, look at the ways to save the client some bucks, also without compromising the desire or the expected quality that we need to achieve. In this specific case, you know, you had German equipment incorporated into the local constructed equipment that was on site. If we can please go to the next slide. Again, just demonstrating various setup or configurations in different applications. Bottom right, you are looking at a winery in Germany. And then bottom left, we are then looking at a site oil facility that we looked at earlier. This is again a different view from that site. Top left, that is an agricultural site, again in Germany. So we will deal with that from not just food and beverage industries, but also will go as far as your agricultural wastewater challenges as well, because that is one of the groundwater issues. Normally when I deal with clients that are out in the country, what is common with them will be also our borehole water is contaminated, but mainly because of the agricultural activities that are happening above ground. And to prevent that from deteriorating even further, we've got solutions that we can obviously help the clients with. If we can please move on, Vera, thank you. Typical example, another facility, this is particularly for PepsiCo in Egypt, where they're treating 150 cubes an hour. And my personal favorite, mainly because, again, incorporation of the ClearFox technology, two existing site concrete structures. If you look at the bottom right picture, that is in fact a concrete tank where they installed the SBR technology for biological treatment. And then part of the process, we also have a DAF. But what I like again with this specific site is that coming in 10,000 milligrams a liter of COD inlet and then going out at about 150, and they still further treat that with the ultrafiltration system for reuse in the process. So this is one of those classic examples where the water is then reused in the process without any issues. Thank you, Vera. Next slide. Okay, this is the similar site that I'm referring to in Egypt. If we can please move on. Castile Winery in Germany, 100 cubes a day. And what I like again here was the client wanted to upgrade their existing infrastructure. So quite common, we come in handy when you are upgrading your existing infrastructure, when you feel that your systems are overloaded. And normally in the big metros, you don't have space. So typical containerized solution then will come in and tick all those boxes. In this particular case, we did pH adjustment, a nutrient adjustment, and then we worked with a fixed bed biological reactor. If we can go to the next slide, please, Vera.
I think, okay, Eric, unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut you short. I think you've got to wrap it up.
Okay, no, I think we are done. If we can maybe, because this is the same winery, if you can go to the next slide. I'm trying to, yeah, there we go. So yes, thank you. I was sort of moving. I just wanted to get to the contact details as well. If they would like to start engaging with either us as Wolfwasser in SA, or it could be talking directly to PPU in Germany as well, they will be eager to assist. Thank you.
Yes, and please, Eric, don't be shy. Put your contact details into the chat as well. And yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you very much, Eric, for that. And it's great to see. I'm looking forward to South African projects as well in collaboration between you and PPU Umwelttechnik. Okay, great. I think then next we're going to move over to Vision Green Solutions. Sebastian Wurz is the Managing Director at Vision Green Solutions GmbH in Germany, but also is here in Cape Town, actually, for Vision Green Solutions Pty Ltd. So the stage is yours.
Vera, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. So today I'm wearing basically two hats, my Bavarian hat, but also my very close to my heart, my new South African hat. I'm trying to stick with a 5-minute limit. So let me directly jump into what we are doing and why we believe we're not just successful in the Bavarian space, but also exporting and also importing back what we learn here between the two regions. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, let me quickly. So we provide innovative and sustainable solutions for water treatment and disinfection with a clear focus on certain industries, mainly food and beverage, food processing, farming, and on the other side, municipal applications, drinking water treatment, wastewater treatment, also industrial applications like cooling towers. Sounds quite generic, so to give you a better understanding how we approach things, we always start with a process deep dive of our clients' individual value chains. Understanding, their very specific quality requirements at every stage of their process, understanding about existing technologies that they currently use, getting a good understanding about what challenges they currently face, and working that all together in a customized solution. That includes water, obviously, incoming water throughout the whole process water, effluent treatment, reuse, maximization, but it's not limited to water. We also take a look at surface disinfection when we talk to clients in the food and bev space, also discuss disinfection about the actual product, food packing, seafood, meat processing, beverage production, and really work, all of that requirements into one comprehensive and holistic solution. The solution itself is always, customized, targeted to the very specific requirements of our client, but it basically sits on always on the same two pillars. Our vision is to provide our customers with an integrated solution, and that is based on hypochlorous acid. So why do we use hypochlorous acid? Hypochlorous acid is a very effective, very powerful disinfectant, and at the same time, it has the very distinctive feature and advantage that it's completely harmless in use. You can apply it on your skin. It's safe for materials, no safety equipment, and no additional protection required. Environmentally friendly, also safe. We produce hypochlorous acid at a pH neutral stage, so also in terms of material safety, no corrosion, for instance. It's purely made from salt and water, which also makes it very efficient from a financial perspective. And just a fun fact, at the site, our bodies are producing also hypochlorous acid as part of the human immune system, fighting off all types of bacteria, viruses, other germs, all the evil stuff. We produce hypochlorous acid, or more correctly said, we enable our clients to produce hypochlorous acid on site, on time, and on demand. So where, when, and at what quality or at what capacity they require it. We do that by two things. We integrate the customized generators to produce hypochlorous acid into their existing equipment, into existing infrastructure. So not just putting a piece of hardware somewhere and leaving the client alone, but really integrating it into existing production or operation processes, and adding our digital solution to that hardware or to that equipment, which basically monitors and measures the process quality all along our clients' value chains, and using that information to then control the production and the application of our solution at every specific and required step to the required degree. This is just an overview of industries and applications we are currently active in. As I said, food and bev, farming, agro processing, and on the municipal side, mainly drinking water and wastewater. And from those applications, I've selected just a few references, because real projects always tell more than marketing slides. So in this case, it's a German mineral water producer who brought us in about 2 years back because they were struggling with one specific step with the water quality at one specific step of their production process. So this was a perfect example of no water, no production, because they repeatedly had to stop production because they couldn't maintain the water quality at that step. We came in, we substituted the previous UV system there, and having our solution or our system integrated and embedded in their processes, we developed that into a full platform, and over the last 2 years, substituted all other chemical disinfection steps, also thermal disinfection, which they previously used, and allowing the customer not just significant cost reduction, but now providing with our software solution full transparency about the entire process quality. This is a local reference, leading fruit juice manufacturer, where we've successfully completed a trial on the incoming water and on the process water side, and now finalizing the configuration of the full-scale system. This year will be a bit tight, but planning to have that integrated beginning of next year. And again, here, a similar story, having that system embedded in their process. The plan together with the customer is to expand the scope and also bring, for instance, cooling system disinfection, effluent treatment, potentially CIP applications on that very same platform. Different example, dairy farming, a system which is currently used for the drinking water treatment of the stables for the animals, but is also used for equipment disinfection of tanks, pipes, surfaces, milking equipment. Very closely monitored because the farmer supplies global dairy brands, so the quality of his product, the milk, is very closely monitored and daily tested. And since we've implemented our solution, the client could see a significant improvement. Not that they have been, coming from a bad spot, but they've further improved on their output quality side. And this is just.
Sorry, Sebastian, I'm going to have to cut you close. I think we got to move on to the next segment, to the next speaker.
Last slide.
Sorry.
Last slide, one sentence. Local project to wrap it up. Municipal drinking water treatment here in the Western Cape, which we've implemented about 5 months back. Replaced the usual suspect, hazardous disinfection done very manually, a very manual process. A customer is now running a fully automated system, quite remote location, so wouldn't need to send people across his region, but having everything basically automated, safe, sustainable, remotely monitored, and is running that site at below 1,000 rand, so below 50 euros a month, and is very happy. You've seen the site, Vera. You first-handedly got the feedback from the client. Yep, that was really was a highlight in our local history. Thanks very much.
Great. Thank you so much. Also share your contact details. Feel free to share them in the chat as well. Thank you so much, Sebastian. We are now moving on to Julian Keidel-Eckert. He's the sales director at Rudolf Messner Umwelttechnik AG, in short RMU, International Sales. Please go ahead.
Hello all. Thank you for the invitation. I would like to give also a short introduction of my company, Rudolf Messner Umwelttechnik, and the portfolio we do. I also will start directly as I just have 5 minutes. First of all, short introduction of myself. I'm an international sales engineer and I'm in charge of the international projects. That's my contact. If you have any questions afterwards, please feel free to write me an email or something. what are we doing? RMU is the short form for Rudolf Messner Umwelttechnik. We are specialized in the biological process and aeration technology for municipal and industrial wastewater treatment plants. We have for that different membrane applications, and we are now, since more than 45 years, present in the market with installations worldwide. We try to work in several countries with distribution partners. We have 2 daughter companies in the US and in the Netherlands where we do our business directly. And we also make in various countries, especially in Europe, direct delivery business from Germany. Let's talk short about our product portfolio. Our main product is our Messner aeration panel. For that, we have 2 different sizes, the Messner Classic with 2 square meters and the Messner Compact with 1 square meter. We are using them for diffusing systems in any type of wastewater treatment plant. Doesn't matter if municipal or industrial wastewater. What we change is our membrane types. We have different application membranes depending on the temperature, depending on the conditions of the water, depending on the industries, what we can use for that. Beside our panels, which is our main product, we have our own Messner control unit to exactly control the aeration tanks or the whole aeration system on the wastewater treatment plants. We can measure with sensors, oxygen demands, ammonia, phosphorus, carbon compounds, and based on that, we figure out how much air we have to bring into the tank. Sometimes the customer requires also liftable solutions. For that, we have our own Messner lifting solution. We have an exchange and refurbishment procedure to get our old panels after their lifetime back and refurbish them to do something for green planet and do not use all the resources which are necessary. And we also have an own dosing unit system for maintenance action. For our main product, the Messner aeration panel, it is pretty unique on the market, especially of that point. So I will show you now, compared to most of our competitors, we use stainless steel as ground material for the base plate and all the retainer bars and side bars, which results for a wastewater treatment plant life to an unlimited lifetime when we compare it to membrane systems and other plastic diffusers. Furthermore, we use a specific permanently elastic thermoplastic polyurethane membrane, which doesn't use any plasticizers or other additives, which has a way longer lifetime than comparable diffusing systems with EPDM membranes, which results into an expected lifetime from up to 20 years. We use a unique perforation, which is pretty small, so we can reach a really small air bubble size from 2 to 3 millimeters in the diameter. As smaller the bubbles are, as longer they keep in the tank, and as longer they keep in the tank, as higher will be the transfer efficiency of the air bubble of the diffusers itself to save a lot of energy. Usually we assemble our panels directly on the floor, and with our design, with the panel design, we can really mount them as close as possible to the floor to do not lose any dead zone where we cannot aerate the treatment plant. So we just are maybe 2 to 5 centimeters above the floor of the tank, which is pretty unique compared to the competitors. Yes, now I would like to show you a short reference. This is a reference we have in Germany, which has a big impact of industry. That's why I want to show you that, where we also used our industrial membranes. In this case, we installed like 1,000 of our panels in 6 lines, and the result was, to summarize it already, to have an energy saving according to our high efficiency of more than 50% in the biological tank. We dismounted the initial diffusing system and also with our partner Erzen, the old turbo blowers which were there installed, changed the process itself to a more flexible zone part. Here you can see how we installed our panels also in operation, and here the Erzen Delta hybrid blowers close to the tank. And to summarize it, we could really decrease the energy consumption with optimizing the whole biological part of this treatment plant, the biological part by 55%. And when we have a look at the whole treatment plant by 33% of the energy consumption. Yeah, to stay close in the time, I just want to summarize at the end what are the advantages of our panels. We have the highest oxygen input and efficiency on the market when we do not use, or when we do not need that much energy. We reach a really low power and CO2 consumption. We have our special TPU membrane and perforation. We use 316 stainless steel as base material, which has better impact to the environment compared to plastic, because we can renew it again and can refurbish it to use it again after the service lifetime acceptancy of approximately 20 years, which is also pretty unique already. Regarding to all that materials, we get a high operational reliability and stability. The refurbishment possibilities I mentioned already. We need very low maintenance, and we can use our panels depending on which membrane we use for almost any kind of industry, and also, of course, municipal wastewater on the market. And of course, the last point, we have more than 40 years of experience on the market. Yeah, thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Julian. Really awesome. I think I would also like to point out that his company works together with partners all over the world. If you find this company really interesting, please maybe Julian also put your contact details if you'd like in the chat, and you can contact him, and you can have a chat about the South African or Southern African market. Great. Thank you so much, Julian.
You're welcome.
I think this, yes, thank you so much for these 3 Bavarian companies that demonstrated what Bavaria can do. And I think we would like to now get to our final segment. I haven't seen any questions, so I think we can move on. The final segment of our event is a demonstration on how South African companies and German companies work together and collaborate. So I know Eric from Wolfwasser and PWU already demonstrated that as well, but we'd like to now bring on the stage again one of our speakers from earlier. We will start with Carl Haycock from Talbot. Please take the stage and just introduce what Talbot does and how you work together with the German companies that you do partner with. Thank you.
Thanks, Vera. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so what I'll do very briefly is just whip you through Talbot and then talk about, some of the relationships we established with international partners, specifically German partners. So at Talbot, essentially our focus is activating the transition to sustainable water. So it's a very clear focus that we have across our entire business. Just a bit of an overview. We've been in business in Africa for 35 odd years. We've got 220 odd staff in South Africa. In South Africa, what is necessary for those of you that are not South African is BE accreditation, and we're a level 1 BE contributor in South Africa. We've done a lot of projects across the continent and in a range of different countries on the continent as well as some work in UK, Europe, and Australia, in fact. Types of clients we work for, just to give a sense. So your typical international, I suppose national, international, and global organizations. I'm not going to go through this list, but we work across a full range of sectors, from public sector through resources, so mining, pulp, paper, FMCG, motor, industrial, etc. Project footprint, I'll skip that because time is relatively limited. In terms of what we do as a business, we are quite a diversified solutions provider in the water space. So we've developed what we call Talbot Analytics, which is an industrial water optimization software as a service solution for customers using data, live data, and providing live feedback to reduce water consumption across industrial sites. We've done a lot of water security and risk related work and associated planning and feasibility studies. We have a team of about 120 that does industrial water optimization. When I say industrial, I'm typically talking industry and mining, not just not just FMCG, for example, so all in industry. So we do a lot of management of systems, water systems on industrial facilities, total water management or management of specific systems, and remote technical support as well. We design and build water recovery and resource recovery systems, solutions for customers, anything from, let's say, 15 million Rand range upward to 200 million. We've got probably one of the top 2 environmental testing laboratories in sub-Saharan Africa, so commercial laboratories, typically doing 6,000 plus tests per day. We do our own finance of water solutions for the private sector. We do product sales support, so after sales support, etc., and we do mobile solutions, rental solutions. So just getting on to what's more relevant to this discussion, and that is our relationship with partners. So we consistently look to identify, new partners whilst building on established long-term partners. So we have a pool of existing partners that we work with on a fairly regular basis. We don't profess to know everything, and that's also where the partners come in, and support. And through that, what we found, for example, is we actually get better solutions delivered in our region. So a good example of that would be the chicken abattoir facility in the Eastern Cape that we commissioned relatively recently. And we're getting over 80% water recovery from a chicken abattoir back into the process. And the relationships work where there's mutual benefit for both parties, ourselves, the partner, but also, I suppose, the customer. At the end of the day, the customer has to have a better outcome as a result of that relationship. So already we have a number of partnerships with German businesses, industries. So the Fraunhofer Institute, for example, TBP Upcon is Bavaria based. They're just north of Munich a little bit, and they're specialists in the pulp and paper sector. KMU Loft, just outside of Bavaria, just south of Stuttgart, specialist in vacuum evaporators. And then WaterSam, also just out of Bavaria, unfortunately. We've got a relationship with them as well, relatively recently. And those relationships all work fairly well. We visit Europe on a fairly regular basis, a couple of times a year, touch base with our partners on a regular basis to make sure that we're aligned to their strategy. We're supporting their strategy and they're supporting ours. I'll just touch on KMU Loft specifically. So we've covered a couple of projects, in the last few years with KMU Loft. Initially, we encountered KMU Loft through a visit to, we say IFAT, we say IFAT here in South Africa. The Europeans say IFAT. Whichever, IFAT, EFAT, 2019, we met KMU Loft. We very quickly after that whilst we're still there, we went and looked at a couple of case study sites they showed us. We signed an exclusivity agreement for SADC region pretty much straight after that. And we've completed a couple of projects with them since then. One is BMW and one is Interwaste. And I'll just touch on those very, very briefly. So BMW plant at Roslyn. So the challenge there was to recover rinse water from the acid rinse zone in the paint shop and use that rather for cooling tower makeup water. And that was due to water savings target driven by BMW at Roslyn. So we installed a KMU 1400 Destimat vacuum evaporator, and that generates 1,400 liters per hour or 31 cubes per day distillate, and that goes through to the evaporators. So the approach was KMU Loft technology. We were appointed essentially by BMW. So the project came from the customer at the end of the day through KMU Loft to us. But because of our BE level in South Africa, the customer actually wanted to appoint us and then use the KMU Loft technology for the solution, which all parties were quite happy with. And we did the installation project management, and then KMU Loft supported the commissioning and training on site. Outcome of that is obviously a reduction in municipal water use and supporting the sustainability goals and objectives of BMW in that instance. Second project more recently done, so interwaste leachate from a landfill, obviously very, very complex mixture of organics and organic pollutants, including heavy metals, ammonias, etc. They needed to dispose of this effluent, and essentially the challenge was potentially risking their entire hazardous landfill operation. So we looked at a solution which incorporated 2 KMU loft evaporators, customized 2-pass RO system, and then ammonia stripping as well as ammonia scrubber. The KMU evaporators were selected over all other evaporators, so initially by ourselves, and then the holding company of Interwaste, which is the Séché group in France, even screened the KMU evaporators, the German evaporators, against their own evaporators that they developed elsewhere in the world specifically for this process. And the KMU evaporator was ultimately selected due to its robustness and, I suppose, ability to deliver to tick the boxes and deliver the requirements. So yes, KMU supported local discussions, sales discussions. So we'd include them in our sales discussions, meetings with our customer, design review, commissioning, and then obviously training of the client operators as well. To a degree, we support that as well. Outcome is that the clean water is able to be discharged to river, it meets river standards, and the concentrate is returned to landfill. And that gives you, I suppose, an example of how an opportunity to meet generates opportunity for the parties, in collaboration with each other, for clients on both sides of the ocean, so to speak.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Carl. That was really a great, also you gave a bit of insight into how that relationship works, which I think is quite valuable for South African companies that might be looking for to work together with German companies, and for German companies joining in this webinar looking for South African partners. Thank you very much, Carl. We hope to see you at the EFAT Africa next year in July as well, and that goes for everyone in the audience as well. As you can see, the EFAT, be it in Germany or in South Africa, can be a great place to meet with opportunities. Great, thank you so much. We're going to move swiftly over to Carsten from MEMCON. I'm so sorry, Carsten, that we are running a little bit late. Please, if you can take the floor and tell us all about how you work together with German companies and how MEMCON operates. And what you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Yeah, for the benefit of time, let us run through this. So MEMCON, yeah, as you can hear, I'm also German. As a German engineer, started MEMCON 2005, and I'm proud to say, as a German engineer, understand how to implement German technology in southern Africa. So I think it's also a bit of an art that we all have to learn here when Germans come to South Africa. So it's not only that we drive on the left side of the road instead of the right, and the sun is in north during lunchtime and not in the south. So there are lots and lots of other challenges here, especially on the engineering level. So we are more up in the industrial side with solid liquid and liquid separation. I try to keep it short. We are based in Johannesburg, as said, almost 20 years in the business, with lots of operations inside South Africa. We're up into 28 countries as we speak. We just come back from a lithium mine in Argentina. We got projects in Asia, obviously all over Africa. So it's great platform to be in South Africa, not just for local solutions, but also abroad. And our benefits, bottom left, we look into legal environmental compliance. Companies have huge problems with water discharge. With all the madness about water, we still even struggle with discharge. So there's a low-hanging fruit to crack. There we add value on the reduced cost of process operation. Water is an aspect that we recover water for the financial, and it already implies that the right water treatment and recovery could actually be a financial saving to start with. So clients need to learn it's not an expense, it could be an investment. So water, again, even on a financial level, is of interest to actually save operation costs in the company. So we are very niche in that we have different industries that we supply into. Number one, the task definition. We talk a lot about industries and solutions that we could provide. We do lots of lab tests, which is very important. Again, German companies, if I may say, there's lots of good products. We saw the blowers, for instance, the aerators. We saw the hypochlorous acid manufacturing. So we need to understand in South Africa how to put these products into operation to make it a complete process solution. And I think this is essential to anyone out there, especially on the German side, that you need a local kind of implementing partner or feet and hands and ears and eyes on the ground here, and understanding our markets and how to approach them. And that's a different discussion anyway, a different engagement with our clients in South Africa, different to what I would say is modus operandi in Germany or Europe. So lab test, pilot test, MEMCON, we do all the engineering and guide the client. And that's also important. You need to become a partner to the client, not just a supplier. You need to guide clients through the process and the solutions they need. So in our case, we do a lot of R&D, lots of services in terms of lab tests, pilot plant tests. We take liquids from clients. We were just delivered certain oily wastewaters. We got delivered spent acid. We got delivered all sorts of wastewater, supposedly wastewater, kelp extract, hormone extracts. So there's a lot of industries in South Africa that all need a very specific approach. So from services of R&D, we go to projects and then hopefully sell components afterwards. Again, very important also for anyone that wants to get into South Africa. You need a very good support in terms of customer services, after sales support. That's exactly why we started here in South Africa, because no one really looked after equipment that was supplied once and then everyone runs away. So sustainability is a very important buzzword. And with that, we go into dairy wastewater, metals recycling, acid recycling, milk solids, dairy operation, cutting fluids, paint shops. So, and water, as you can see, is always a byproduct. So one must not just necessarily look into where do we get water from, but we can go into the process and add value by recovering, recycling, and reusing the big 3R of water from the process liquids. Dye industry, tannery, landfill leachate. It's lots of industries are here. Many are very big, some are not so big, but wherever the process liquids, there's already a potential to save and recover water and add value on the concentrated side. So we must not always just think we make fresh water from wastewater. We can even produce water out of milk. There's a project for concentrating milk, for instance, now for transport purposes. They want to reduce, if you look at the bottom right picture, they want to concentrate the milk by extracting water to reduce transport cost. So that's great for transport and further handling on concentrated milk, but you also have a lot of water generated from milk. So we can make water from milk. We still work on making milk from water. So that doesn't go both ways, sadly. So our world is the process side, and it's all sorts of membranes, many from Germany, many from all sorts of wherever else in the world. And again, these beautiful products we put into operation here in South Africa with our team of engineers. We are based in Johannesburg, and that's where the R&D and the project management happens. So as an example of agencies, what we do as MEMCON, and I can just welcome other suppliers in the forum to maybe contact us or someone else here in South Africa. If you think you have a product that fits these type of solutions. So one of our agencies is Mann & Hummel. Doesn't ring probably to most of you. They're very, very big. It's a multi-billion euro company, corporate in air filtration. So if you open the bonnet of your vehicle there, you might find a Mann & Hummel air filter, but they then also stretched out, acquiring the Tricep in America, Microdonadia in Germany, Ultramar in Italy. So it's a big membrane house with a huge range of submerged membranes, of ultrafiltration membranes, and so on, and various water membranes like RO and nanofiltration. The other one famous in our industry is ATEC Innovations, based in Germany, in Gladbeck, ceramic membranes. But all of these products are obviously useless without the implementation and building plants around it, and that's exactly where we come in. So I also want to just highlight 3 quick cases. To give you context, for instance, industrial wastewater, high COD wastewater. So the entire food industry struggles tremendously to get rid of high COD wastewater. It many times exceeds sewer discharge limits. So what must they do? So a solution would be MBR, membrane bioreactor technology, where we convert the industrial wastewater from the dairy back to fresh water, either for irrigation or we take it even further for drinking water for reuse in the factory. And that's this whole phased approach that we also need to learn in South Africa. You're not just going the whole alphabet from A to Z with all the technologies. Typically, you start in sections and phases just to get them to a certain level to be legally compliant. And then you add more value and go on until you really add more and more value all the way to water for reuse. So that's important, and that's mentioned and stressed the word partnership with the client. South Africans love to be in partnership. They like to, have someone they can call on. We call them the go-to guy. So become the go-to guy to your clients. That's very important, what I learned. The second of the three operations is, for instance, cheese whey treatment. So Memcon built lots of plants for protein, whey protein recycling and concentrating and purifying from cheese whey. So if 100 liters of milk, it gives you 10 kilograms of cheese. So 90 kilograms is the whey, full of protein, lactose, minerals, and other good stuff. That's what we process in large scale here in South Africa, including the pre and post treatment and silo management, and pretty much produce, again, a protein concentrate that goes to spray towers, but then also as a final product, water again, water for reuse, for CRP, for floor wash, and for cooling towers, etc. So again, water, but almost like a byproduct from the manufacturing process upstream. The last one is a tannery wastewater with membranes from Germany as well. So here we have the combination of ceramic membranes from ATEC, the plant on the left, and reverse osmosis, nanofiltration membranes on the right from Mann & Hummel. So in combination, we built such complete process plants that takes a hazardous waste, and it is a hazardous waste you cannot just dispose of into sewer, all the way back to fresh water for reuse in operation in the factory. So these are these concepts that I would like to just have tabled here as a concept of where we, as an engineering and solutions provider, as we call us, I'm sure the same goes for Carl. So we look into complete turnkey solutions, how we actually implement A to Z, flange to flange solutions to the client with ownership, with ongoing support, with ongoing validation and technical training. We have problems in South Africa with staff. Lots of trained operators leave and move around. We have a so-called brain drain in South Africa where clever people leave the country because they can and then move over to Australia, America, UK, or Arabian countries. So it becomes a challenge to operate high-tech equipment here in South Africa and implement it. So with that, I'm rushing through there, Vera. I know you love me for that, but yeah, I have to, I guess. Thanks very much. You see contact details. Again, I welcome anyone who might have a question in this field or wants to approach South Africa, or has got, and especially the Germans, I love them for all the finesse and the nice products they have. But as I say, you need local support and a local go-to guy who can assist with bringing it into the market.
Thank you so much, Carsten. That was really great. I think this was a very round event. I'm seeing that some people are leaving, but we still have 97 people in the room, so that's not bad, I think, after 1.5 hours. So I think I'm going to close this event. Thank you to all the panelists for coming and for sharing your knowledge and for demonstrating how collaboration can lead to great things. We hope this webinar gave you an insight into the framework conditions for the application of water and wastewater solutions in the industrial sector in South Africa, among other things. I think there was a lot of information there that hopefully we can gain knowledge from. I also hope that this webinar demonstrated successfully that supporting industry in becoming water secure is all about collaboration. I think that was demonstrated very well. Drawing on the strengths and connections of your partners in finding and implementing projects. For those representing industries today, I know that there were some registrations also from industry. I hope this webinar gave you an idea on how to achieve water security in the future and who you can contact. I think there were quite a lot of messages also floating around. And Carsten, maybe you can also put your contact details again in the chat before everybody leaves. And I think last but not least, thank you to the Bavarian Ministry of Economic Affairs and in collaboration with the the Bavarian Ministry of Environment to have sponsored this event. I think this was a great opportunity for everyone to get together. And I think lastly, come everyone and visit us at the IFAT in Johannesburg in July, and come and visit the Bavarian Pavilion. come and visit the German Water Partnership Pavilion to meet potential partners. As you could see in this, people meet at the IFAT and do business afterwards. So meet your partners for future business. Come and visit us. Come and find the German technologies at the IFAT Africa in July. If you're keen to receive that invitation, please just pop me an email. You've got my details. vmassey@germanchamber.com.co.za. Sorry. But you know me, you can contact me, and I'll send you the invitation to the IFAT as well. Great. Thank you, everyone, for a very successful event and for participating and commenting and chatting to each other. It was really fantastic to see all these comments pop in. Have a great remaining day.
Thanks, Vera.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vera. Well done.
Have a great day.
Tschüss.
Very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Tschüss. Thank you.
Thank you.